Hey guys, welcome to my tutorial. This is going to be about branding, a brand. So what I have here is a great photo of some good old um, aged beer or whatnot. So we're gonna take this and just edit it up a little bit in Photoshop. So I'm gonna clean this up by taking the crop tool and just kind of cropping this in, making sure that I'm just going to grab really what I want is just one of these barrels here. So let's crop that down right there. Okay, so now I have a barrel to work with. Now what I want to do is take my logo, brand it like right in the middle, and make sure everyone knows, hey, this is my beer. So what I want to do is first grab a file to brand it. So I'll just go ahead to place embedded. And I got my logo right here ready to go. Place that in there. And I'm just going to go ahead and click the bounding box. It has my logo. It's all good. All right, there it is. So I just want to take this over. Kind of general idea is maybe have it here about maybe centered, maybe high. I don't know. Let's see. So we'll go ahead and scale it up from here and get a general idea of what or how big I want it to go. So I think that's good. So we just go ahead and take that, and now we got the size and kind of the idea that we want. Now I want to go ahead and make this look a little bit more realistic. So what I'm going to do is go into my edit bar here, come down to transform, and you know what? I forgot something. So if you guys are unaware of the smart objects tools and bringing the smart object into Photoshop via, Illustrator or whatever, um, you have an option here to keep the original, and it's basically linked to the original file. I really don't care if I modify this or anything, so I'm going to go over here and click on this smart object. Control click for you Mac users, and then scroll down to the rasterize layer. This now gives me full functionality inside Photoshop to do whatever the heck I want to it. So I can go back to my edit menu. If you didn't notice before, let me just go back one step. So as you can see right over here, our smart object icon is on. When I go to transform, you can only see like I have scale, rotate, skew, and then these options down here, but distort, perspective, and warp are not even available for me. Okay, well, that's because it's a smart object. So now, if I want to do that, I just go ahead and click on this and rasterize it, therefore making it totally transformable with any of my options here. So I want to distort this. Now back to what we were trying to do. We're going to go ahead and scale this down. Just form it a bit to the barrel. Nothing too fantastic. Just a general idea of what you want. And then, kind of stretch it and distort it the way you feel matches what you're trying to do. For the most part, I'm kind of picky, but sometimes I'll just let things go, and it really depends on what you're shooting for here. This is a quick rendering for a client, I just want to give them an idea. This is pretty much a quick way just to give them that without having to dive into uh, too much work. Now with the warp, you can easily just like, I'm just going to modify this little area down here, maybe make that a little bit more puckered, maybe bring that in just a tiny bit more on the sides, maybe bulge it out a tiny bit, because it is rolling here. It's it's a rounded shape. So we can just take that piece, pull it out here, round it off here, pull it in here, and just give it the idea. Okay? Yeah, that looks a little wonky. So I am just going to go back and do a simple transform, distort, and just do it quick for you guys. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Have you guys watch me, you know, dick around basically. All right, so that looks pretty good. Yeah, cool. Now, I want to make this look like a brand. And just for you guys just to know, a brand is basically a big metal shape that is put into heat, fire, to burnt so it's orange, so it's really hot. And then you take that thing and you just slam it against the I'm sorry, the barrel, or if you're a cattle herder, the side of your cow. So we want to make this look something similar to that. But what I like to do too is to add a little bit more to it. So what I'm going to do first, is since it's rasterized, I want to go ahead and add a little bit of texture to it. Make it look a little bit real. So we'll just go over here. Let's see here. Maybe we go to our filter gallery. And actually, perfect. Texturizer's up. This is actually what I want to do. So I want to give it a grain feel. So it doesn't look too just plastered on and say, whatever, this looks like what it looks like. And over here, you get your scaling. You can make those really fine lines, or you can make them pretty big and bulky. I'm going to try to medium area. Yeah, just make it look a little real. The relief actually just shows like the kind of depth you would see. So if you do this extreme, it does the really deep reliefs. There's hardly any reliefs on this thing at all. So I want to keep it pretty light. And I said, okay. See, now it's just a little bit more realistic. Like, oh, hey, maybe that is on there, Maybe he just didn't fake it in Photoshop. So it still doesn't look completely real yet. So let's just take a copy of this. We'll leave that one alone for a second. And let's take a look. And I'm just going to show you a couple options of what you could do. What I like doing a lot, I like multiply. It's really great effect. Melds a bunch of things together pretty seamlessly. But it all depends on what you're really looking for. So if I hit multiply on this, you can see it just made it a little darker. Not a huge deal. Nothing that I'm really looking for. Honestly, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of things in here that are going to be what I want to try, but maybe screen. Yeah, screen just makes it disappear. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that off of multiply. Or maybe, hey, here's a thought. We'll maybe keep that on. We'll maybe just drop our opacity. All right. That seems a little, that looks okay. Yeah, I dropped it down. I like keeping my numbers even, so just make that 80. All right, cool. So it's a little bit more realistic. I mean, if you looked at this and you saw it, you're like, maybe that's real. So let's make it look a little bit more realer, huh? Yeah, so let's take our top copy here. Obviously, they made it darker, but we want to go ahead and change it a little bit by maybe adding a little bit of blur to it. Gaussian blur. Oh, look at that. That doesn't look too bad. That actually looks like it was branded. How about that? So we'll just take a look and zoom out here, find it. There it is. So this is what the blur is actually doing at 5.4 pixels. So, I just want to look at your preview, look at your screen, and kind of see what's happening. For the most part, I would be okay with that. So, okay. But the thing is, it still looks a little too fake. So maybe we drop our opacity on this one a little bit as well. Just a tad. We don't want to get rid of the effect too much. And maybe we bring this down a little bit more. Or maybe we take it off multiply, throw it back on normal, and drop that opacity a bit more. 55. See, it's getting a little too faded. You go too low. You just want to make it just dark enough to realistic enough. 45 seems good. And our opacity on the blur. It's really a judgment call on what you're trying to achieve. But if you're just looking for a quick little brand, I'd buy that. That seems okay. So we're really close to 90 here, so let's leave that at 90. And I think we're pretty much there, I'm not seeing anything that would just jump out at me and say, hey, look, maybe you should change that. Maybe I'd go through this. I'd probably clean this up a bit, for like cheap thrills and stuff, just to clean up that little piece of paper. But this is okay. It's not the worst you can possibly do, but for the most part, it would be an acceptable uh, proof for a client. So I'm looking at this here, and I see that this is like really bright. So maybe we just drop that down a little bit. Hey, that doesn't look too bad. Hey, that looks pretty good, actually. For what we're trying to do and achieve, to make that look realistic, I think we achieved it. So for the most part, this whole tutorial was just about kind of getting you a little bit more familiar with bringing in objects, um, rasterizing them, how to release them from being a smart object so you can edit them. A little bit on the distort and showing how to modify, a logo onto an object. And then we got a little bit more detail on the, adjusting the image, adding some texture to our logo, and giving it a little bit of an effect to make it look like it was real. So I hope this was a useful tutorial for you, and if you have any questions for me, you know how to get a hold of me. Down below, you can easily just shoot me a quick comment, or feel free to email me. I am at dlndesign.com. No, not really. I wish I had a .com. I'm so cheap, so this is how I'm going to tell you guys how to get a hold of me. So you go to dlndesign@gmail.com, and we are going to, oh, look at that. That's my email address. Bam. You can send me questions to this thing right here. And if you like the YouTube video and you'd like to see more, just let me know. I'd be happy to do it. Peace out, guys.